to another stream. So today, obviously, we're going to be looking a bit more at the tactical side of the game. Had a brilliant stream with Dak the other day. It's fantastic. Really enjoyed having him on, and excited to announce right off the bat, starting from this week, Wednesday, we're introducing the Scran Cam, featuring obviously Dak at Scran United on Twitter and myself. So we'll be having our usual chats, broadcasting them on stream, and yeah. Get ready for it. Can't wait. It's going to be mental. So get used to that. Get ready for that. Get excited. And today we've got got a little bit more of a tactical look rather than just sort of discussion. We'll go for a little bit more in-depth tactical look at where United have been going wrong so far this season, why we're losing so many games at Old Trafford, why we're not picking up anywhere near enough points at home, and how we can go about fixing that. The issue Solskjaer's got to fix, as it says up there in the top. If you've got anything you want to see throughout the stream, do let me know. Drop a comment down below. And yeah, we'll see how much we can get through in the stream. So, first of all, the most important thing to start with, international break, quick roundup of the news. Obviously, Pogba's come out, said that he's not so happy at United as he is with France. He's having a better time with France. But obviously, you got the whole Paul Pogba debate there. He had a really poor game against Finland. That first goal, that long shot, it never goes in if Fred and McTominay are playing. Obviously, they're not French. We all know that. But if they're playing, that goal never goes in because they close down the man. They don't give him the space to get that shot off. Pogba, we saw the worst side of him in that game. And then against Portugal, just a few days later, we saw the best of Paul Pogba. Brilliant, brilliant performance. And that is exactly what the problem with Pogba is for United fans. Turns up some weeks, other weeks he doesn't. And that is why, in the strongest team I've got, you can see, not that way, on the pitch next to me, we've got Fred and McTominay in United's probable strongest team. What Solskjaer feels right now is his most trusted 11. We've got Fred and Scott McTominay in the double pivot there. And for me, I think, whilst they may not be the most talented players, those two provide the solid defensive base that we need. And look, it's not Paul Pogba. They haven't got the passing range. But defensively, they're helping to stop us concede goals. And especially away from home, it's working really well. Obviously at Old Trafford, so far this season, Pogba's played pretty much every game. Obviously against Tottenham, Pogba had an awful, awful performance. Not working hard, anywhere near hard enough. And that was a big factor in why we conceded so many goals. So, obviously there, we've just identified work rate as one of the important factors where we need to be doing better defensively. But that's not really something Solskjaer's going to be able to fix too much. He can tell them work harder on the pitch, but that's about all he can do there. What I want to see from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, look, the sort of buzzwords you hear in football, you hear style of play, you hear system. Those two things, we need Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to try and nail down one of those two first. And the reason it doesn't have to be both is because the other one, whatever one you nail first, and it doesn't matter, the other one follows on from it naturally. So, I'll give you an example here. So, if Solskjaer says, okay, the style of play I want to go for, I want to get balls in the box, get a lot of players into the area, and just play from crosses. So, what do you need from... So, that's the style he wants to go for. So, the systems come naturally from that. You need something with width then, because you need players to get the ball into the box. So, you need wingers or fullbacks that get high and get the ball in the box. Then you also need players that can get into the penalty area. So you're probably going to play with two strikers. So in that case, in that example, by nailing down the style, the system follows on naturally. The other way around, obviously, if there's a particular system he likes playing, Carlo Ancelotti at Everton, he likes his Christmas tree system or his diamond, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, he then works out a style of play with the players he's got that allows him to get the best from that system. So it doesn't really matter which way round Solskjaer goes. He's got to nail one of those two things down. And for me, he hasn't done that yet. Now, away from home, when we get given a little bit more space by opposition teams, it's fine. Not a problem. We can... Look, players like Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Juan Mata, when they get given space in between the opposition defence and midfield, they're amongst the best in the world. Bruno Fernandes, Anthony Martial dropping deep are fantastic. Great to watch. They're really good in spaces, linking up. But when we don't get given that kind of space... When teams don't show us that kind of respect, we really struggle. And look, it comes back to the same problems we've been talking about for a while now. Playing out from the back. That's the root of our problems. If you look at sort of just even the most basic of stats. Now, stats out of context, not the best thing to do all the time. But here it tells you a little bit of the story, United have one of, I think we're maybe 10th or even below that, for the number of passes we've completed this season. And that tells you all you need to know. We don't complete enough passes. We may have possession of the ball, But when we have possession, it's either sitting behind the opposition, we're playing in front of the opposition, so they're just sort of sitting in their shape, watching us play the ball around, Maguire to Shaw, maybe to Fred, back to defence again. And that's not hurting anyone. Or we've got the ball in wide positions, a little bit higher up the pitch, and we're unable to progress the ball back into the middle and create goal-scoring chances. We're not good enough on the ball. And for me, that has got to be the essence of what any coach, any top-class manager puts into their team. So I'm really disappointed that Solskjaer hasn't done it yet. And for me, it's because he hasn't nailed down either the style of play or the system. Now, if you're watching this, I want you to let me know. Have you got any idea what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's system is? Have you got any idea how he's trying to play? Let me know in the comments down below. So Declan Till says, with the quality we have, why can't we break down low block sides? Whenever we're given the ball in a high percentage, we crumble. Any thoughts on this? And you know what? He's completely right. So if we set up the opposition here in a low block, what we find is that when our team the thing we normally see is we get the ball with our defenders and we've got 6 players just playing in front of the opposition. It can be that basic. We're just playing in front of the opposition for the majority of the time because the likes of Fred, McTominay, they don't trust themselves to get on the ball beyond the midfield, beyond the attack of the opposition, in the tight spaces. If they don't trust themselves to do that, and they don't trust the players behind them to give them the ball, then it makes it really hard to pass through. So if you've got this many players in front of the opposition, making those balls through to Rashford, or Martial, Juan Mata, all it takes is an opposition player to shift across very slightly, and it's so easy to block that pass. And that's where United have been struggling throughout the season. What we need to be seeing more of is, okay, let's say Fernandes, okay, you go and get closer to Anthony Martial. Rashford, you hold the width in the build-up phase. Mata, you hold the width on that side. Fernandes, you get higher up. You go beyond their midfield, so their midfield have to worry about what's behind them as well as what they can see in front of them. And then McTominay, you get higher. Fred, you get higher. And trust the boys behind you to do their job. You know, when you spent big money, and it is big money, on the likes of Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, even Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, but it wasn't really his strength, you can argue. But those sorts of players, you've bought them because they move the ball forwards. You bought them because they're ball-playing defenders. You trust them to bring the ball out from the back well. And then all of a sudden, if you're not using their skill set, why are they there? Maguire's in that team because he's a fantastic ball-playing centre-half. If you take that out of his game, by Fred playing 5 yards away from him, what's he got left? He's slow. He's not the best. Well, he's been showing up a little bit defensively. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. But you've got to play to the lad's strengths. You've got to get Fred and McTominay higher up the pitch, beyond the midfield if you can. Let the boys at the back get the ball to them, and then we're going to start to see things. So it's basics from Solskjaer. Going forward as well, the other thing we need to see far more of is our wingers hang out wide far too much. Maybe not so much for Mata, but Greenwood does it as well. You want to see, when your fullback on your side's on the ball, as a winger, okay, you hold your width to stretch out the defence. As soon as your fullback gets the ball, you go inside. You play in the half spaces between the opposition centre-back and fullback. You let your fullback get up there. You want to see our fullbacks sprinting high up the pitch with the ball. And that is how we're going to get our players into the central areas, get the ball back in and be able to break down low blocks. So for me, Dak, that's where that's at. That's what we need to be seeing far more of. Now, you said, going back to what we're saying system-wise, do we think the transfer window was detrimental to the confusion Ole seems to have with his team selection? Did he plan on dropping some new names in 4-3-3? Now, 4-3-3 is something I do want to talk about. We'll come back to that in a second. And, you said, yeah, considering we played so well post-lockdown in that system. Now, you know what? You're completely right. We played very well post-lockdown, but I've had a bit of time to reflect on this one, actually. I'm a massive fan of 4-3-3 personally, but looking at the teams that have actually played it successfully, the one you've got to aspire to be is that Man City team. That team that got 100 points in the Premier League. Unheard of. And what they did with their 4-3-3. Obviously, they had one sitting midfielder in Fernandinho, which will take the place of Fred, can be him for now. And then in front of him, you had two, Kevin De Bruyne in the sort of box-to-box role, and David Silva as more of a sort of number 10, but basically they're 2-8s. So let's say we have Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba in front of him. The most crucial part of that team is this man here, that single pivot. Now, I've been looking back a bit on that City season and seeing how they were able to pull off the 4-3-3 so successfully. And the one thing that gets overlooked almost every time, people concentrate on, oh, they've got fantastic wingers, they spent 400 million on fullbacks, whatever, they've got brilliant centre-halves. Fine. The one player in that team is that defensive midfielder that makes the whole thing work. And there's a reason that other teams around the world are trying to pull off this 4-3-3 with one sitting midfielder and they struggle. Barca can do it in La Liga, fine, because Sergio Busquets is so good. But there's so few players, midfield players of that quality, that they can do that job. That season, Fernandinho had amongst the best in terms of his defensive output, not just in terms of the amount of contributions he's putting in, but the success rate he was doing it as well. And not only that, his passing was amongst the best in the league as well. So what you want to see, what United need to see, if we're going for that 4-3-3, which would be great to see, I think honestly it's just, personally I think it's a little bit idealistic at the moment with the players we've got. But we need an absolute monster defensively, someone who simply does not get dribbled past. Fernandinho, compared to the other elite CDMs, that season he played for City, he got dribbled past the fewest of anyone by a significant margin of any comparable elite Premier League CDM. The likes of Jorginho, Kante, Declan Rice, Matic, that sort of top group, maybe Fabinho and Henderson I think I put in that comparison as well. Fernandinho got dribbled past by far the fewest out of anyone and is putting in some of the most defensive contributions as well. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And that is the key to making this system work. Until United have someone who can do that, the system's going to be really hard to pull off. Looking at our options, you've got Fred, you've got Nemanja Matic, I guess you could play Pogba in that role as well, Scott McTominay. None of them yet are complete enough players for us to play a 4-3-3. So for me, Dak, that is the biggest issue. Now, Talk Football says, I think Ole needs to find his starting 11, and that will help players become more consistent. You know what? You're right. And this is what I've been talking about. You want to find your starting 11? Fine. How are you going to pick that starting 11? Is there a style of play you want to go for? Or have you got a particular formation or system that you want to make work? For me, I personally think Ole's 4-2-3-1 is the best we've got at the moment. And, I mean, the strongest team I think that he thinks he's got is this team here that we're seeing now. Fred and McTominay there, Fernandes, Rashford and Juan Mata in front with Anthony Martial. People may be saying, why no Mason Greenwood? Look, in this system, you cannot have Mason Greenwood and Aaron Wan-Bissaka on one side and expect to create chances against a low block. Mason Greenwood is, honestly, one of my favourite players. He's on the back of this shirt. I don't know if you can see part of that. But yeah, Greenwood 26 on the back of that. He's one of my favourite players. He's fantastic. So good on both feet. But he's a finisher. He isn't a chance creator. If you get him into the penalty area, get him one-on-one against the defender, he can go left, he can go right, he can do anything and he will score a goal. But he's not good at creating chances against a low block. Because unless you can get him one-on-one with the defender, and in normal times we can't because Wan-Bissaka isn't high enough, so you end up with the winger and the fullback just doubling up on Mason Greenwood on the right. Unless you can get Greenwood in those positions, Mata is much more effective at creating chances. So for me, this is our most effective team right now. And so in that sense, I think maybe Ole has found his starting 11. Maybe this is what he thinks is our best shot at winning games. And you know what? This isn't a Man United team, is it? Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. But it's not a Man United team. There's no clear style of play. We're not playing to the strengths of the individual players. The system doesn't seem to fit the players as well as it should. And there just seems to be something slightly off. Especially at Old Trafford. If these boys were confident, they felt like a Man United team, they wouldn't be on this poor run of form at Old Trafford. So, Dex saying, is what I'm talking about with a defensive midfielder wise, the reason why we're heavily linked with Thiago in the summer. He could be exactly the player we need for that 4-3-3. Now, you know what? I mean, I know what you think about this one, Dak, and I've got to be honest, I agree. Thiago would be an absolutely brilliant player for this team. However, in a 4-3-3 as a defensive midfielder, for me, nah, he hasn't got it defensively. He's not a type of player, he's not a workhorse. Fred's a fantastic workhorse, so is McTominay. Fred's lacking the ability to win every challenge he goes into. At the moment, he still goes into a lot of challenges and leaves himself exposed if he gets beaten. He dives in a lot, in other words. McTominay could play that role, but he's not good enough with a ball at his feet. His passing range. Now, for both Fred and McTominay, for me, that will come in time as they get more and more confident. They'll soon start to realise, look, We're the starting midfielders for Man United. We're in that double pivot. We've got to be the ones that get that ball forwards to Fernandes, to Mata, to Martial. We've got to be the ones that receive the ball in these tight spaces here, in amongst the opposition players. We've got to be able to slide an eye of the needle pass through to our forwards. We've got to have that quality, and they'll develop it. The question is, can United afford to give those two the time in the team, the run in the team? Maybe it takes a season, maybe it takes longer, maybe it's quicker than that. Can we afford to give these boys the run in the team to build the confidence and get good enough at making those passes and sort of getting around their limitations? If we can, if the board have said to Ole, you know what, okay, fine, we'll give you 3 seasons. By the end of those 3 seasons, I expect you to be in a position to challenge for the league. Maybe he's got another season left on that. And if he has, fair enough. But if not, then you need someone who's complete. You know, you want to get Paul Pogba in that team? Fine. Get a defensive midfielder who can do everything. Go and get N'Golo Kante. He's not a long-term fix, no, he's old. But Kante and Pogba, brilliant partnership for France, World Cup winning. You need players that play to each other's strengths. So for me, Dak, yeah. I mean, Thiago, great, but, you know, he's great at passing the ball, but he's not good enough defensively for that role at all. So, hate to be that guy. Without Thiago, Bayern conceded 0.93 goals a game. So with him, they conceded let me start again. Hate to be that guy, Cam. Without Thiago, Bayern conceded, I think you mean with Thiago, they conceded 0.93 goals a game. And without, 2.56. But he's a Scouser now, so who cares? Yeah, I mean, yeah. We're not signing him now, that's been and gone. But yeah, I agree, they conceded less. And you know what, in this United team, that would help. Because so many of the goals this United team concede right now come from our own failure to play out the ball from the back. We lose the ball in the middle third of the pitch far too often because we simply get stuck when it's at Fred and McTominay's feet or even with the fullbacks out wide. We can't find that ball forwards, or we find that ball forwards, but it's taken so long and been so obvious for the defence that as soon as Rashford, Mata, Martial receive it, they're swarmed by 2 or 3 players and that ball comes back straight away. Sometimes, you know, one of the pivot makes a run up the pitch. We try that. Maybe a fullback's a bit higher up the pitch as well, and we get broken on and we concede goals. But the vast majority of the mistakes we're making right now are our own doing. And so maybe in that sense, you know, Thiago would help. His ball retention would be massively better than what we're seeing right now. He's so much better at resisting the press than any of our current midfielders. So yeah, maybe Thiago would help there. Now, talk football. Surely a team like United shouldn't be playing with 6 staying back, defender and midfield when they're attacking, especially against lower teams. Yes. Completely agree. And look, whatever way you want to dress it up, we'll look at examples. We'll look at Liverpool and City in a second, and they don't play with 6 staying back, do they? Liverpool, for example, Liverpool know their front 3 are all brilliant finishers. They're all really good threats close to goal. So for this one, I'll put Greenwood in because he's, you know, a bit closer to Salah in terms of the type of threat he provides. Close to goal, good finisher. If you want to get those 3 close to goal, what's stopping then? The defence coming in, just doing that. Then they've got a nice easy 4v3, extra man, maybe drop a midfielder back as well. Even if you've got a midfield, Bruno Fernandes coming in close, the defence still have the superiority numerically in that situation. So how do Liverpool get around that then? Well, they get the fullbacks high up the pitch, for one, and they get the midfield in sort of an inverted triangle shape, so like that. So they've got a little bit more of a spread across midfield. But the important bit here is that the fullbacks are much higher up the pitch. And when you've got players like Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, their biggest strength is that they can deliver balls really accurately and really precisely, great crosses from deep areas. And that's so unique in the Premier League because normally you get fullbacks crossing from these sorts of positions, which fine, the opposition fullback can just shift across and cover if they're overlapping. But when they're doing it from deep, either your fullback's got to go out and press them, which means there's then space for your forward on that side, or their winger's got to come back and mark the fullback, which stops the winger, crucially, doubling up with the fullback against your winger. And that means your winger's got a one-on-one, or if your fullback isn't marked, they can put a good ball in the box and you've got 3 fantastic finishers making those runs into the penalty area to try and finish it off and score the goal. And that's why Liverpool are so effective. So United, yeah, you're right. We need to commit more bodies forward, but we need, as much as it's about numbers, it's about the perception of your players from the opposition. As soon as opposition teams start to think, you know what, Luke Shaw, or let's say Alex Tellers, they've got a fantastic whip on them, we have to close them down. As soon as that happens, it opens up more space elsewhere for other players. So as much as it is about pushing numbers forward, and that will help Shaw and Wan-Bissaka to get more balls into the box, hopefully create that perception, it's also about building that confidence, building that idea, planting that seed of doubt in the opposition minds that we have to close that lad down because he'll deliver real quality otherwise. And you know what? If we can get to that stage, with Rashford, Martial and Greenwood in the edge of the penalty area making runs inwards, Fernandes and McTominay too, I back us to score a goal in pretty much every game. If those three can't do it, Cavani, Pogba, Van de Beek, whoever else, we're fine. But for me, that's what we've got to do. Yes, commit more bodies forward, but make sure the perception is there as well, that we really are a threat from deep and wide positions with crosses as well. So, according to Dak here, we seem to be paper over the cracks FC. 2 defensive midfielders to cover the back 4, left back covering Maguire. Bruno taking out this team and we're 11th. Yeah, it's that mental. He's a glue. Well, you know what? I'm pretty sure we're lower than 11th in the league right now, aren't we? Like 16th or something? Someone let me know in the comments, where are we in the league right now? I think we're bottom half. So yeah, you're not right. You're not wrong. We'd be pretty screwed without Bruno right now. Now, Liverpool play a mega high line. We can't play that with Maguire unless we have a speedier centre-back. Even then, it's panic stations whenever the opposition get the ball. Now look, you're right. Looking at what we've got here, look how much space there is in behind here for the opposition. And you know what? This winger here, if they get that ball in a one-on-one with Harry Maguire, we're in serious, serious trouble. You saw what Bergwijn did to Harry Maguire in half the pitch of space. We're in real trouble in that situation because Maguire's so slow. But I just, as much as I want to see a team that can pull off a high line, aggressive, high-pressing football, we're not going to get rid of Maguire. We spent 80 million on the lad. He's going to play. So we've got to either live with his limitations or adapt to it. For me, I think we should just play a high line, live with it. If he gets beaten a couple of times, hope that Fred and De Gea will get us out of jail. But we've got to trust that the rewards will justify the means, justify the risks. So, you're both saying it now, talk football as well. Yeah, we need a faster centre-back. That is it. That is exactly it. Now, for me, out of those two, Maguire and Lindelof is the better centre-back. On the ground, he's one of the best centre-backs around. And for me, Victor Lindelof could go to Barcelona tomorrow and be one of their best players for the next 5, 6, 7 years. He could be a terrific centre-back, just like Gerard Piqué has been for Barca. Victor Lindelof would be fantastic because he's so good on the ground. He's really limited in the air though, and that's why we need Harry Maguire's aggressive presence. But obviously Maguire's got no pace, so what do? Tuanzebe in for Maguire? Tuanzebe in for Lindelof? For me, I want to see Ted and Mengi. Give him a go, Ole. He's so quick, he's good in the air, he's physical, he's aggressive. Give Mengi a go next to Victor Lindelof, and then we'll see who's a better centre-half. Who's a good pairing. In terms of defensive midfielder, which I think you've also pointed out here, defensive midfielder and attacking fullbacks, key ingredients of the Liverpool team. They've got Fabinho in that role. Who do you think? Now, this is an open question for anyone watching. Let me know in the comments below. If you could sign one defensive midfielder for Manchester United, who would that be? Would you go for a young player who can develop, or would you go for someone who's genuine top quality and can come into that team straight away, hit the ground running, and make a genuine improvement? For me personally, I would probably go and get Kante. As much as he's old now and he's not in his best, maybe not in his prime years, I would probably go and get him because he can show the likes of Fred and McTominay how you need to play. What's so important for that United team? We've got the potential there in the youth players. We've got James Garner, we've got Levitt, we've got Galbraith behind them. We need someone who can just do the dirty work now. And if they can do that, they can transform this team. Genuinely, this team is not actually that far away from being a whole lot better than it looks. So, for me, I think, in terms of defensive midfield players, I'd go and get Kante. Maybe Declan Rice, players like that, but they're going to cost a lot. Kante for 30, 40 mil, I'd take him right now in a heartbeat. In terms of fullbacks, look, we spent 50 million on Wan-Bissaka. We're not getting rid of him. Luke Shaw, always injured. What can we say? I think Alex Tellez will come into this team. I think, provided he doesn't also get the injury curse, I think we won't look back. I think he'll be the one that gets trusted to start. The one reservation I have is when Harry Maguire's in this team, Tellez does like to bomb forwards. He's very good obviously at getting forwards. So I'm a little bit concerned that, he goes too far forwards and leaves Maguire too exposed. But, as I said, at sometimes the risks, you've just got to throw caution to the wind and hope that the rewards outweigh the risks. So that's where I'm at on that one. We need a ball progressor. Yes, Dak, we do need a ball progressor, you're right. And at fullback, neither of them have it. Again, yeah. So this is something else that's caused us great problems throughout the season. Probably the last sort of major tactical concept we'll talk about today, but what we'll see throughout the season, what we have seen and what we'll continue to see, is when we've got the ball deep, especially when we're sort of trying to play out from the back. So imagine a situation where we're playing out from the back and the defence, maybe the game's a little bit more open at this point. So the opposition are pressing us quite high, the teams are stretched out, so they've got their forwards, their midfielders pushed up the pitch. But what so many teams do against us right now is when they target Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They know he's not very good with the ball at his feet. They know that there isn't someone running the channels in behind him to give him an easy out ball. So what they do is they simply wait. They just wait. There's a misconception. Well, there's a difference between pressing and pressing traps. Pressing, where you just go and chase the ball or hunt the man that's on the ball or whatever. Teams don't necessarily do that against Wan-Bissaka. They let that ball go out wide. They stand off. And as soon as that ball even leaves Lindelof's foot towards Wan-Bissaka, they're all off towards him. It can be 3, 4, 5 players sometimes around him. Chelsea are really good at this. They did a lot of work on this against us. The whole team squeezes up and they put Wan-Bissaka under pressure. From that position, all he could do, go back to De Gea, back to Lindelof, or try and thread a ball through to McTominay or Greenwood, which 9 out of 10 times he doesn't have the confidence to do. Notice I'm not saying the ability, the confidence. As he builds his confidence, he'll get a lot better, but right now he doesn't have that. And for me, this comes down to Ole. You've got to tell your wingers, look, if Wan-Bissaka's in that position, he's getting pressed. How are we going to combat that? Either Wan-Bissaka has the technique to play out of the press himself, or Greenwood, you go running behind, play that ball down the line. And far too often, you see United making the same mistake over and over and over again, trying to play out of a press when really there's not much chance of us actually pulling it off. So yeah, we need better ball progressors, but we've got to be much more intelligent with the way we're using the ball and the way we're doing things. So have we noticed that, 1v1, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is elite, but double up on him and you see how bad positionally he can be. More so his awareness on the pitch, same thing going forward, he lacks composure and vision. Yes, brilliant point. Now, against Everton, you know what, actually, let me know down in the comments or anyone else, which games you've seen this in, because I've noticed this against Sevilla in the Europa League last year, against Everton this season. I think it happened against Spurs as well. When Wan-Bissaka gets drawn out to the opposition fullback, so let's say it's Everton, Luca Digne on the ball here. Wan-Bissaka gets drawn out to go and press him. Maybe McTominay covers, maybe not. The winger, in this case Bernard, makes a run into that space that's vacated. Maybe Lindelof comes across, maybe McTominay comes across, whatever. That ball gets through to Bernard. And Wan-Bissaka in this position, for whatever reason, he always seems to do it. He will always switch off and make a really, really slow recovery jog back. Notice how slow it's moving there. Meanwhile, Luca Digne off down the wing, like lightning, getting down round the back four and putting the ball in the box. We conceded a goal from that against Sevilla. We conceded chances against Everton from that happening, and it happens continuously. So yeah, 1v1 Wan-Bissaka's brilliant, but when you play 1-2s against him, he does seem to struggle. So yeah, I completely agree with that, Deck, yeah. In terms of sort of other things to say tactically, for me, those are the main points there. Wan-Bissaka, 2v1s you've got to improve. But right now, the one area that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to concentrate on is United playing through from defence to attack and retaining possession. Being able to play through more quickly, more crisply, more precisely and retaining the ball. Because most of our shortcomings in both defence and attack all stem from that one issue. We lose the ball far too soon, which kills our attacking momentum and gives the opposition the chance to counter on us very quickly and easily before we've got the chance to get players back. So for me, that is the one thing that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to fix. So, thanks very much for watching this stream. I do want to remind you, obviously, the Scran Cam coming up on Wednesday. Excited to be back with Dak talking United again. If any of you guys want to see anything covered on that, drop me a comment, drop me a DM at StatmanCam. You can see the Twitter up there, and obviously the YouTube, which you're on, is in the opposite corner. But yeah, Twitter up there. Drop me a DM, let me know, and see you guys again soon on Wednesday. Cheers for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you again soon.